So welcome to this short video. I'm just going to explain how these different tools work for language learning purposes. Let's have a look in the Connect folder first. So this activity focuses on collocations, chunks of language collected with crime. How does it work? You'll see there are hexagons. There are two teams. One team is moving from the top to the bottom, and one team is moving from left to right. They do so by answering correct questions. So let's start in the middle. Here comes the clue. So one team, the crime of intentionally killing a person, of course, is murder. So if the team gets it right, the teacher chooses the correct, and the hexagon changes color. Then the other team has the chance to get a correct answer. They have to win by connecting a series of hexagons. So they join the top with the bottom and the other team with the left to the right. So this is based on an original TV game called Blockbusters. And to create this game you have to have at least 20 clues, but you can have chunks of language. Each letter represents a word. So it's very good for working on collocations or individual lexical items or idioms. So that's the tool is called Connect. Let's move on to Find 10, which some of you used yesterday. As I explained, when you create it, the green squares are correct and the red squares are false. And you can use it for any particular grammar area. When you play the game, the squares are all jumbled up and the students have to decide if the sentence or the word, whatever you've written, is correct or false. This one was aimed at B1 students focusing on modals of obligation. Look at the time, I've got to go now. It's perfectly acceptable, and so it becomes green. And so you go on until 10 correct sentences have been established. You can then work on the 5 ones which are wrong, and the students can correct them. So it's a great activity if you want to diagnose how much students know about it in the language area, or if you want to give feedback on some of their speaking mistakes or good language they've used. So it's an instant exercise for grammar, vocabulary, anything you like. Very easy to create. Find 10. Next tool we're going to look at is Order Sorter. It basically means you put a series of sentences into the correct order, so it's very useful for building a dialogue, for example. So let's have a look at this one. This is a dialogue which takes place in a hotel room in London. Now this is one of the tools which allows you to add a check button, a self-check button. To do so, you have to go to the menu, to Options, and click on there, and then you see the check button appears. So when students have decided on the order, and they do it by moving it around, they can then check if they've got it right. So this is great practice at lower levels. You can have a little dialogue. Students have to put it in the order, then they can use it for pronunciation practice or controlled speaking practice. Great little activity just for ordering any kind of short text. It could be a written text or a spoken text. So that's Order Sorter. Next tool is Swipe. It literally works like this. You've got a red side and a green side, and you can use it for any area that is relevant. It could be, if you're working on spelling, words that are spelt correctly and words that are misspelled. So when you create this, the red cards are for mistakes and the green cards are for correct forms. So this exercise is focusing on verbs which take ing or not. And you can play it in a time trial mode or a relaxed mode. Let's play it in the relaxed mode. So I've created 28 cards, and you have to decide, can you say I'd prefer ing? The answer is no. Can you say I'm planning to do something? Yes, you can. Sorry, that was wrong. It should be I'm planning to. Can you say I'm good at doing something? Yes, you can. Can you use suggest with ing? Yes, you can. Can you use agree with ing? No, you can't. Enjoy, yes. Offer, no, etc., etc. So this swipe is literally black or white. Is it possible or not possible? And it depends on the language area or grammar area you're working on. Let's move on to the next tool. It's called Text Spinner. You can literally create a wheel. You can see behind the wheel each segment is a topic, and then after the game, the tool has spun the topic, when it comes to a stop, you can then have a question opening up. So this is a speaking activity focusing on B2 type topics. So let's have a look how it works. So you spin the wheel, so as you can see it stops on the topic of the environment, and you click on the question, and there's a question that students can then discuss with their partner. Then you can move it on again by spinning the wheel quite easily, and because it's being regulated, controlled by the actual platform, you can increase the space of a lesson rather than interrupting the student saying, okay, next question. You can just literally spin the wheel and they will be ready to deal with the next question that appears. So it's a great activity. You create the segments, the topic, and then below it you create a question. Great way of creating a little controlled speaking activity or freer speaking activity in the classroom. So that tool is called Text Spinner. Next tool is one of my favorites. It's a great way of practicing simple mini dialogues focusing on key language areas. So let's have it's called What's the Question? So I've got here questions about the future at an A2, B1 level. How does it work? Let's open up the screen. You can choose the number of teams. Let's choose you've got 3 teams. You can name the teams, and then you can decide what kind of mode you're going to play in. So the only difference is in mystery mode, students can't see the value of getting a correct answer. I normally play it in penalty mode. So as you can see, there are 3 teams at the top. They could have names. Now the first thing is you need to give teams at least 10 minutes. You can see there are 12 sentences, and what they have to do is for each answer they have to think about what the question might be. So this requires quite a lot of time. The first time I did this, I didn't give my class enough time and it didn't work very well. When you give them 10 to 15 minutes and they need to have a question for each answer, then it works well, and it lasts up to 45 minutes with teenagers and adults. So once they're ready to play, you can see the cards. You can design the game so that some of the cards are more difficult. I just tend to randomly put the answers and the questions on a 30 card or a 10 card. So let's have a look at this one. A team selects the question based on how confident they are, and then they have to decide what the question is. I'm staying here for 4 months. Now imagine they say, how long are you staying in Brighton? It says, how long are you staying in Eastbourne, but the grammar is correct, so the teacher awards the points. Once you've actually finished the game and you've got all the questions, the next step is, again, can the students remember what the answer was? And so what you've created is little controlled dialogues focusing on different grammar areas. So here we're focusing on future forms for plans and arrangements at an A2, B1 level. How long are you staying in Eastbourne? I'm staying here for 4 months. The thing to do is to try and make these little dialogues as realistic as possible. But again, this activity lasts about 45 minutes, and the key thing is to give students 10 to 15 minutes to think of the questions, because if they haven't got a question, they can't play the game and then they get frustrated. But you can use this for many different grammar areas, and it works really well. Let's move on to word magnets. This originally was the only tool that was created for Triptico when it was first launched about 20 years ago. Now it's just one of the tools. What does it mean? Well, let's have a look at how it works. Basically, you can copy and paste text into a text box when you're creating an activity. You can choose to have words on individual tiles, or you can have them like I've done on groups of words on one tile. And why is that? Because I've got 3 conversations here focusing on announcing news, either on TV or individually between friends. So what do students have to do? First of all, they have to, or the teacher can indicate there are 3 mini conversations. The students then, first of all, they select which utterances or phrases could be in which conversation. So could be, "Hi John, what's up? I've passed my driving test," for example. "That's brilliant, well done. Thanks." And then it could be, "So how are we going to celebrate?" I'm doing that very quickly. But anyway, you can see if you've got an interactive board, students can come up and move the tiles around and gradually build up the conversation. And then what you can do is get them to practice it, and you can also, when you highlight it, you can then make some of the tiles disappear. As soon as you highlight a tile, you can go to options and you can actually remove. There is an option to remove the tiles, but that's getting a bit complicated. But basically, magnets, word magnets, allows you to paste in text, and you can either create individual magnets, individual squares with individual words, or you can have chunks, utterances. And finally, word mix is a great way of practicing vocabulary. How does it work? You click on the clue and it gives the answer, and students have to rearrange the letter. Lots of people want to get into that job. It must be now. Imagine they think that's the answer and they check it. It then shows them which squares are correct and which are wrong, and they get another chance to correct themselves. So as we know, the answer is competitive, and then hopefully it should give us all the right answer. And there we go. And it moves on to the next question. And you can create as many tiles as you like. The great thing is when you're creating these, you can always use an online dictionary and copy and paste. So that is the last tool in the selection that I've sent you, and hopefully this video has helped you to understand how they work and how you can create them.